completely new for me. And my idea of a fun night is sitting up in bed reading Elizabeth Starr's literary analysis on George Eliot's Felix Holt the Radical. Yeah, I'm a freaking wild girl, let me tell you. Well, I was a virgin in grad school. Actually, my husband Mark was my first lover. He was a professor in the environmental studies department, and I was in women's studies getting my PhD. Oh, he was such a passionate activist. Don't drive SUVs, let's save the spotted owl. I was really infatuated with him. He was completely unlike the other guys on campus. Well, once they found out that I was a Latina, they all came to me for sexual advice. All sorts of questions, like, how long should you date a woman before it's okay to ask for anal sex? Or, if I let her put her finger up my ass while she's blowing me, is she gonna think I'm a faggot? And then, I figured that I must obviously be coming across as very trustworthy and smart, right? Until it occurred to me that most white men assume that Latinas are pretty sexually experienced anyway. But Mark always took the lead in bed. He'd be the one to choose which porn videos we watched. He would suggest the new position or the distinctive role-playing fantasy or a new flavored lube like spicy ass cream, cherry snatch sundae, or even he would choose from the various assorted battery-operated devices like the ramrod, the honey bunny, the clitoral kicker, the penetrating pogo, the stallion battalion, or the smut butt bum plugger. And if I ever came across as even remotely unwilling in any way, he would say, "Hey, Lita, don't knock it till you try it." And I guess he was right about that. I mean, you can't say you don't like something if you've never experienced it, but Mark could be so demanding. And he was very good about talking me into things that I didn't feel comfortable with. Like during sex, he'd want me to yell out, "I see, papi, right there! Do it to me like that! I see, papi, eso sí que es, papi!" He loved having the neighbors think that he was married to this really hot Latina who just had to have sex all the time. The thing is, I didn't always feel so sexy and hot, you know? Well, I'm an academic, not J-Lo. And all the sexual experimentation, I don't think it was really helping us. It made me feel inadequate. Like he wanted all that crazy stuff because I obviously wasn't enough. But sometimes I think it was easier to nail jelly to a tree than to get Mark to listen, so after a while I stopped trying. It wasn't that bad. I still had my work at the university, and at times this could be quite fulfilling for me. I could spend an entire semester on Simone de Beauvoir's The Second Sex, or the dynamic poetry of a Julia de Burgos, or one of my personal favorites, the journal writings of Anais Nin. And, okay, look, I'm just gonna come out and say it. I was a fraud. Here I was, this successful, intelligent, educated Latina, and I had never even had an orgasm. I was a huge, frigid, uptight, ultra-conservative, bad-tempered fucking fraud. I was always encouraging my students to make passionate choices, but I couldn't follow my own counsel worth a damn. And now my husband of 12 years, whom I was beginning to suspect of being a bigoted, tree-hugging asshole, now he wanted to have a threesome with me, him, and another woman. He wanted to have sex with me and another woman, and not just any other woman. Oh, no, another Latina. The real, juicy, door knocker, hoop earring, spandex covering, the big booty heaven, heavy makeup wearing, Spanglish speaking, marginally educated Latina who can come at the drop of a hat. A real Latina. Like the one who worked at the Starbucks across the street. Miranda, Mark approached Miranda and we all got together for coffee. I decided that I was not going to say much. I would just let Mark take the lead again, as always. She says she's 27 years old, and she's very sweet. I notice that she keeps stealing glances at me while she talks to Mark, and finally she asks me what I do. I say that I teach women's studies, figuring she'll just roll her eyes and try to change the subject. But she doesn't. She just looks as though she's trying to remember something, and then she says, I want to live richly and darkly in my femaleness. I want a lover whose will, pleasure, and desire will be my touchstone, my command, my pivot. I don't mind holding my own intellectually, but as a woman, oh God, as a woman, I am going to be pursued, fucked, and possessed by the will and bidding of my lover. I don't know what to say. Isn't that incredible? The girl just quoted Anais Nin to me. And I think I stopped blinking for about 30 seconds. She then goes on to say that she's a painter and a writer, that she'd gone to college for a year and then dropped out in order to concentrate on her art. She actually likes a lot of the writers that I teach in class. Julia de Burgos, Sherry Moraga, Carmen de Monteflores, Virginia Woolf. She likes Virginia Woolf. I mean, can you believe this? This is not your average skanky little hoochie. This hoochie has an aesthetic. She has brains. And then I begin to think that, you know, maybe in this day and age, a threesome really isn't all that radical. I mean, not really, yes. You know, all of a sudden, every nerve ending in my body feels tickled with a keyed up eagerness. I'm like this long, dormant bulb that's been lit up with a newfound radiance. There's this swift expectation that borders on thrilling. So I say to Mark, let's do it. But as I stand there in the middle of our dark bedroom, between my husband and this girl, I'm nervous. Of course, I'm shaking, but not in a feminine, poetic way. You know, like a fragile leaf. I'm more like a cement mixer. I'm clacking like loud castanets. I asked him if it's okay if I could wear my sweats to bed, and Mark grouses at this because he wants the both of us naked. And Miranda just says, sure. Whatever makes me comfortable. And then she kisses me. And it starts off slow at first, and then the kiss becomes more passionate as her tongue moves deeper into my mouth. I start to feel her hands start moving over my body, and piece by piece, my clothes gradually begin to come off. First my t-shirt, and then my sweatpants, my bra, my panties. And I find that I want to caress Miranda, to possess her, to have her possess me. I want to feel the roundness of her ass, the softness of her belly, and particularly the skin between her legs. And as if she knows what I'm thinking, she whispers in my ear, "Sabes que eres una mujer hermosa." I can't believe it. You know, Miranda's Spanish isn't like mine. Hers is brazen music, dark golden ambrosia to my ears and skin. Suddenly, I realize that I'm being seduced in Spanish, rather than being instructed to yell out. And I lay back as I feel Miranda's tongue gently search for the blaze between my legs, and I moan loudly as I reach down to rub her shoulders and her head, and all the while her tongue keeps moving away and moving closer and closer over my clit. And I suddenly feel a pressure. And it is a strain that's unlike anything I've ever felt before. And I hear a loud sigh as I finally feel myself contracting against her sweetly accommodating mouth. And it's only then that I squint across the room to see what the other guy... Mark, at this time, is jerking himself off as he watches the two of us. He didn't realize that things were different now, that what I was starting to feel for Miranda was mine. It was all mine. I was no longer there for the sake of the marriage. Somehow Mark had ceased to exist for me. Somehow, magically, Miranda had made him disappear. She's silly and fun and bewitching with her daffy smile and her beautiful Afro-Caribbean face and that seriously sumptuous load of sensual, smoky black hair. And those freckles that she hates and she's always trying to powder over, I'm on a mission to kiss every single one. She's meeting me here tonight. That's why I'm kind of nervous. She called me a few days after the threesome to get together for coffee. Just the two of us, not Mark. And I went to go and meet her. Actually, I ran to go and meet her. We've been together ever since. So she's been asking me to move in with her for the past couple of weeks, and I've been putting her off. I'm scared. It would mean a big change, but I think that's what life is. Change. Anyway, I'm telling her tonight that I'm doing it. Poor Mark. He was pretty upset when I told him. The threesome was just supposed to be this sexual fantasy fulfilled, nothing more. But why? He asked. How? After all these years with me, how could you just suddenly end our marriage to go be in a same-sex relationship? I just smiled and said, "Hey, Mark, don't knock it till you try."